At the family barbecue, I tried to be light. I can't wait for our vacation, I said. My dad, Victor, laughed first. It's only for family without you. The patio roared. My sister, Chloe, snorted. My mom, Alara, smiled like it was a joke. I didn't explode. I nodded, stood up, and left my unopened wine on the table. 5 days later, Alara reached for $5,000 she thought was still hers. One tap later, the account had a new name and their group chat had a new problem. Stay with me. This story doesn't end where they thought it would. Because before that barbecue, before the laughter and the $5,000, there were years of smaller cuts. Little things I kept excusing because they were family. I teach 4th grade. My life is quiet, lesson plans, cafeteria, coffee, the smell of dry erase markers that never quite leaves your clothes. My weekends were always for them. I'd drive 40 minutes to fix a Wi-Fi router, pay for a plumber they couldn't afford, or pick up groceries when their card unexpectedly declined. They'd thank me, post family photos, and somehow forget to tag me. The truth is, I used to love being useful. It made me feel needed. But somewhere along the way, being needed turned into being used. Sarah noticed first. She's calm, practical, the kind of person who plans vacations with spreadsheets. Last spring, she said, "You realize they only call when something breaks, right?" I laughed it off. I told her she didn't understand how families work. I said guilt was our love language. She didn't find it funny. Then came Colorado, a 3-day cabin trip, cheap, quiet, a break from grading papers and phone calls that always started with Maya. Can you just? I didn't post a single photo, but my cousin did. One picture of me and Sarah smiling against the snow. That's all it took. 2 days later, the text started. Chloe, first, wow, must be nice to forget your family. Then, Leo, you've changed. And Alara's message that sounded sweet, but stung harder than any insult. We've always been there for you, but when you get time off, you run away like we don't exist. They turned a weekend getaway into a betrayal. By the end of the week, I was the villain in their story, the selfish daughter who left them behind. Sarah told me not to go to that barbecue. Said it felt like a setup. But when Alara called, her voice bright, promising it would be just family, I believed her. I always do. That Sunday, I brought a bottle of red wine, something decent, not fancy. I even practiced how to sound casual, how to say sorry without actually apologizing. I told myself maybe this was the moment things went back to normal. I didn't know then that normal had already shifted. I didn't know that the same people smiling at me across the picnic table were waiting to humiliate me in stereo. But I should have known because every time they said just family, what they really meant was without you. The smell of grilled meat still makes my stomach twist. That day the air was thick with smoke and something else, expectation. Victor was at the grill, tongs in hand, acting like it was any other Sunday. Leo leaned against the cooler, already on his second beer. Chloe scrolled through her phone like she was too bored to exist. Alara set the table, humming. When I walked in with the wine, no one looked surprised, but no one said hello either. Hey, I said, forcing a smile. Looks great out here. Yeah, Victor replied without looking up. We started early. Translation, you're late. I sat down, trying to ignore how quiet it felt, like everyone was waiting for a cue. Alara slid a plate in front of me. So, she said, how's Sarah? She's good, I said, hoping that would be enough. It wasn't. That's nice. Alara smiled thinly. No follow-up question, just silence, the kind that spreads and swallows whole conversations. I glanced at Leo, tried to ask about his new job. He grunted. Chloe snorted. The laughter that followed wasn't loud, but it was sharp. I laughed along, pretending not to notice the edge in their tone. And then I said it, the sentence that would detonate. Everything. I can't wait for our vacation. It was supposed to be small talk, light, harmless. Victor froze for half a second, then laughed. That deep, fake laugh he uses when he's about to say something cruel. It's only for family without you. The patio erupted. Leo slapped his knee. Chloe wheezed. Alara raised her wine glass, smiling like it was a toast. For a moment, I just sat there. My ears rang. The world narrowed down to the sound of ice clinking in glasses. I thought maybe someone would say it was a joke. Maybe Victor would wink. Maybe Alara would scold him. But no one did. It was deliberate. They wanted to see if I'd break. I didn't. I looked around the table, my family, every one of them laughing like my exclusion was entertainment. I felt heat crawl up my neck, then something colder, realization. This wasn't the first time they'd humiliated me, but it was the first time I saw it for what it was, a performance. They needed me to stay small, apologetic, useful. And the easiest way to keep me there was to remind me that no matter what I gave, I'd never really belong. So, I gave them what they didn't expect. Silence. I nodded once, calm. Got it, I said, my voice steady. Then I stood up, left the bottle of wine untouched on the table, and walked away. The laughter faded behind me, replaced by the buzz of cicadas and the dull thud of my heartbeat. In the car, I sat for a long time before turning the key. My hands were trembling, not from anger, but from something sharper, clarity. I had spent years paying their bills, covering their gaps, fixing their chaos. And in one sentence, they told me exactly where I stood, outside. By the time I got home, my phone was already buzzing with messages. You know, Victor was kidding, right? Don't be dramatic. You always ruin things. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the banking app, the joint account I had stupidly left active after years of helping with their emergencies. The balance blinked back at me. I thought about closing it right then, but I didn't. Not yet. Some part of me wanted to see how far they'd go once they realized I wasn't reacting. It didn't take long. 5 days later, my phone lit up with a new notification. Withdrawal attempt, $5,000. That was the moment the humiliation turned into something else. Something quiet, sharp, and certain. If they wanted me out of the family, I'd give them what they asked for completely. The notification sat on my screen like a punchline. Withdrawal attempt, $5,000. Same joint account, same card I opened years ago when Alara said she just needed help with utilities. I should have closed it ages ago. But guilt has a way of keeping doors unlocked. I stared at the number until the screen dimmed. My coffee went cold. Somewhere between the barbecue and this moment, something in me had gone still. No yelling, no panic, just a clean, steady line inside my chest. I called the bank first, blocked the card. Immediately, I said, my voice calm. The rep asked if I wanted to file fraud. I almost laughed. No, I said, it's family. When the confirmation email arrived, I reopened the app. The account name blinked at the top, Family Fund. I pressed edit, deleted every letter. Then I typed 3 words, pay without me. For a moment, I just looked at it, the phrase that summed up years of guilt and small humiliations. I hit save. 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Alara, hey, did you touch the account? Victor? Your mother made a mistake. Fix it. Chloe. Haha. Leo. Seriously, what's your problem? I didn't reply. Instead, I took a screenshot of the account name, the failed transaction, and sent it to the group chat. No caption, no explanation. Then, I put my phone face down and went for a walk. The air was heavy with that sticky late summer heat, but my mind felt clear. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't rehearsing apologies in my head. I wasn't planning how to make things right. I was just done. When I got back, the group chat had exploded, 40 messages deep. Alara wrote, "This is ridiculous. We needed that money for the holidays. Victor, after everything we've done for you. Chloe, LMFAO, you're actually insane. Leo, grow up, Maya." I read every word, then archived the chat. Not deleted, just folded away like a document I might someday show a lawyer. Sarah found me sitting on the couch, legs tucked under a blanket, staring at the dark phone screen. She didn't ask what happened. She just said, "You finally did it, didn't you?" I nodded. Yeah. I stopped paying for people who never saw me as part of the bill. Outside, thunder rolled low and slow across the sky. Inside, my phone vibrated again, another wave of messages I didn't care to read. They wanted chaos. I gave them silence. That's the thing about revenge. Not every explosion is loud. Sometimes it's just a quiet click, followed by the sound of everything you owe finally disappearing. By the next morning, the panic had bloomed. When I checked my phone before work, I had 16 missed calls and a string of messages that bounced between outrage and desperation. The family group chat had turned into a battlefield of accusations, each of them blaming someone else for losing control of the account. Alara claimed she didn't know the withdrawal was that large. Victor wrote, "This is petty, Maya. You're embarrassing yourself." Chloe posted a crying laughing emoji followed by a screenshot of the rejection notice from the bank, like it was some kind of family meme. I muted the thread. By lunchtime, Alara showed up outside my classroom. The secretary buzzed me. "There's a Mrs. Brooks here," she said. "Says it's urgent." I stepped into the hallway, heart steady. Alara was standing there holding her purse like it was a prop in a play she'd rehearsed. "You blocked the card?" she asked, her voice soft, trembling in all the right ways. "Yes." She blinked fast, trying for tears that wouldn't come. "We just needed it for the holidays." I folded my arms. "You tried to take $5,000 without asking me. It was for us, for the family." I smiled small. "You said I wasn't family, remember?" Her mouth opened, then closed again. She wasn't expecting that. "Maya," she said finally. "You're overreacting. You're being cruel." That word cruel landed harder than the laughter ever did. For years, they'd taken and called it love. Now me saying no was cruelty. "I have to get back to class," I said. "You should go." Her voice cracked on my name, but I walked away before I could start to care again. That night, I came home to Sarah setting out takeout containers on the counter. "You okay?" she asked. I shrugged. "They're unraveling," she smiled faintly. "Good." But it didn't stop there. 2 days later, I came home to my apartment door slightly ajar. My first thought was that I'd forgotten to lock it. My second thought, when I heard voices inside, was worse. Alara and Victor were standing in my living room. Chloe sprawled on the couch, shoes off, scrolling her phone, a half-eaten bag of chips on the coffee table. "What are you doing here?" I asked. Alara turned with that same practiced calm. "You weren't answering." "Because you tried to steal from me," I said. Victor stepped forward, voice heavy with mock authority. "Watch your tone. We're still your parents." "Then act like it." He scoffed. "You've changed ever since you started dating her." Sarah froze at the doorway, holding the takeout bag like a shield. "You broke into her apartment," she said evenly. "That's not okay." "This is family business," Alara snapped. I felt the last thread of patience snap. "No," I said, "this is trespassing." They didn't move. Chloe laughed softly without looking up. "You're such a drama queen." I walked to the door, opened it wide. "Get out." "Maya." "Now." Alara's eyes narrowed, cold, replacing the sweetness. "You're going to regret this." "I already did," I said, and shut the door behind them. The silence after they left felt sacred. Sarah sat on the couch, shoulders tense. "They're not going to stop," she said. "I know." That night, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, my mother's sister, Juliet, the family's black sheep. When she answered, she didn't sound surprised. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said. She invited me over that same evening. Her small house smelled like cedar and old books. Before I could speak, she handed me a folder thick with papers. "Your mother's been manipulating people for years. You're just the latest." Inside were records, payments, old transfers, even hand-signed notes from the time she'd borrowed money from Juliet and never repaid, a check for $10,000 for a roof repair in 2012, another $5,000 for a medical emergency that turned out to be a Caribbean cruise. I felt sick. "She said you were unstable," I murmured. Juliet laughed. "Of course she did. It's easier to erase the truth when everyone thinks you're crazy." We spent hours comparing stories. The patterns matched perfectly. Borrow, lie, guilt, repeat. "I can help you," she said, pouring wine into two mismatched glasses. "But if we do this, you have to be ready for them to hate you." I smiled for the first time all week. They already do. The next few days were a quiet storm. Juliet's friend, someone who worked in financial compliance, helped me sever every tie I had with my parents, accounts, emergency contacts, insurance. I closed the last joint account, then sent one message to the family chat, a screenshot of the zero balance under the name, "Pay Without Me." No caption, just silence. Leo responded first. "What the hell is this?" Chloe followed. "You're losing it." Alara called 6 times in an hour. I didn't answer. The next morning, I woke to find my phone vibrating nonstop. Juliet had posted something, old photos of Alara and Victor in casinos, sipping cocktails. Timestamps overlapping the months they'd claimed to be broke. She didn't tag them. She didn't have to. Within minutes, cousins were texting me asking if it was true. My father's sister messaged, "You've humiliated your mother." I just stared at the screen, feeling none of the guilt they were trying to hand me. That evening, Alara appeared again, this time on my doorstep with her brother, George. He stood behind her like muscle, arms crossed, sunglasses on, though it was almost dark. She looked tired. Strategically tired. "We came to talk," she said. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "You shouldn't be here." George jumped in. "You embarrassed the family." That post was out of line. I almost laughed. Out of line is trying to drain my account. She made a mistake, he snapped. She made a choice, I corrected. Alara lifted her hands in mock surrender. We just want peace. We canceled the trip. We thought maybe we could start over. The same game. Pretend it never happened. Reset the board. I'm not going anywhere with you, I said. If you show up again uninvited, I'll file a report. George scoffed. You'd threaten your own mother. I met his stare. No, I'm protecting my life. Alara's expression shifted. Shock, then pity, then contempt. You've changed, she said as if it were the worst thing imaginable. I have, I said quietly. And I'm not sorry. They walked away without another word. The porch light buzzed above me. Inside, Sarah waited by the window, eyes searching my face. It's not over, I told her. They'll come back. I was right. 2 days later, an email arrived from the school district. Notice of concern. Immediate acknowledgement required. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint claiming I was emotionally unstable and creating a hostile classroom environment. I read it twice, then looked up at Sarah. They found a new way to attack. She took my hand. Then we find a new way to end it. And this time, I knew exactly how. I didn't waste a second. I called Juliet, forwarded the complaint, and waited while she read. Anonymous. Huh, she said. Give me a day. By the next afternoon, she called back. Got her, she said simply. Chloe's college IP, no VPN, amateur hour. Relief didn't come all at once. It came in waves. I brought everything, emails, messages, screenshots, to a lawyer Juliet recommended. Her name was Elena. Calm and sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who didn't blink at family drama dressed as fraud. She flipped through the pages and said, we'll start with a no-contact order, temporary at first, then permanent. It was like exhaling after years of holding my breath. Within a week, the school board cleared my name. HR apologized quietly. My principal told me to take a few days off, paid, of course. I said, thank you, but what I meant was, finally. Alara tried to call once more. I didn't answer. Then came a final message. You'll regret cutting us out. Family is forever. I deleted it. That night, Sarah and I packed boxes. We found a new place, a 2-bedroom sunlit apartment that actually reached the floor, a kitchen window overlooking a park. When the keys turned in the new lock, I felt something loosen in my chest that had been tight for years. Juliet came by with pizza and cheap wine. As we ate on the floor, she said, you know, they'll probably keep talking. They always need someone to blame. I smiled. Let them. I'm not in the story anymore. Later, when the last box was unpacked, I opened my banking app one last time. The account still read, pay without me. I didn't change it back. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was a reminder. A reminder that silence can be louder than shouting. That walking away can echo more than any argument. For the first time in my life, I slept through the night. No calls, no buzzing phone, no guilt, just peace, paid in full. 2 months later, I stopped checking their group chat altogether. Actually, I didn't just mute it. This time, I deleted it. No final message, no goodbye, just gone. The quiet was strange at first. No more fake emergencies, no more guilt disguised as love. The kind of silence that once felt heavy now felt like freedom. On a Friday night, Sarah and I sat on the balcony of our new apartment, a pizza box between us, cheap wine in our hands. The city lights flickered below, warm and distant. "You ever think they'll apologize?" she asked. I shook my head. "They'd have to believe they did something wrong." She smiled. "Then I guess you already won." I looked down at my phone. No missed calls, no unread messages, just the words I'd left behind in that frozen account, "Pay without me." For once, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. They said I wasn't family. Maybe they were right. Because family shouldn't make you beg to belong. So tell me, if the people who call you family keep taking until there's nothing left, would you finally make them pay without you?